Hi there. Welcome to another informative weekend edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. Inside our pages today, Healthwise examines the salt issue, and we have financial tips and more. Sit back and enjoy the half-hour journey.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Climate conditions can and have been unleashing serious harmful impact on our food and nutrition security. But we can remedy this issue by practicing climate-smart agriculture, as you learn in this next feature.
Having a career is advised, but like everything else, it has its own set of challenges. One of these is creating equal opportunities for both sexes to feel secure, heard, and strengthened to perform their obligations. Another is ensuring our actions are not contributing to climate change and endangering the environment. This is why the Jamaica 4-H Foundation, supported by the Jamaica 4-H Clubs, the youth training arm of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, has partnered with the UNDP to implement the Enabling Gender Responsive Disaster Recovery, Climate and Environmental Resilience Project. Currently, there are 71,269 persons with membership in the 4-H clubs, with 2,311 volunteers. The Engender project assisted young farmers and fisherfolk between the ages of 18 to 35 through training and certification, enterprise development support, and increased awareness about climate change, all aimed at strengthening their adaptive capacity in becoming more resilient. Training exposures include climate-smart and sustainable agricultural and fisheries practices, value addition and agri-processing, environmental awareness, and leadership. Climate change has the potential to degrade food quality, reduce availability, and disrupt access.
Climate change is real, and we cannot affect climate change. So what we want to do is to get people to adopt to strategies that will make them, be able to survive in this changing climate. So our job really is to bring about awareness of some of the impacts and some of the basically the strategies that they could employ to basically adapt and mitigate this effect of climate change.
Let us dig into the soil of relief that the Engender project has provided to combat climate change while improving the incomes of young farmers and fishermen. The program ran for 9 months with a series of activities. The goal? Climate-smart business management and financial literacy training was done for participants in communities in Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and St. Thomas.
Implementing the program in these areas, it will in fact address the big issues that its projects seek to address. And one of them is how do we develop resilience in our youth farmers, and how do we help them to create sustainable livelihoods.
To develop a stable foundation for the project, the Jamaica 4-H Foundation and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, planted 3 important components to ensure trainees reap the right benefits.
891 young farmers and fisherfolk in the 5 parishes, including women, were part of the Climate Smart Agriculture Program.
It is bringing the opportunities that is provided by the ocean. It is bringing farming together, and the key actors are youth and women.
The aquaponics system is climate resilient, and we all know that climate change, global warming is taking place. And being that water cycle filters, you don't need additional water every day to keep the crops growing and growing healthy. What I've learned new that I've applied to the aquaponics is that I can now store the water from the fish whenever I'm going to clean the tank, and I can use it as a fertilizer base for other crops that I'll be growing.
The benefit of the Engender project is all about reinforcing the importance of consistency.
The crafting of this project is absolutely timely, and we are very, very grateful to the Global Affairs Canada as well as the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the United Kingdom, because they have actually provided resources. And so the UNDP, the United Development Program, and the Jamaica Forage Clubs Foundation, we have worked together to implement this very, very uniquely crafted project.
Through the funding of the Global Affairs Canada and the UK, we were asked to work on this project in 9 countries in this region. And it's pretty much to look at how we can find a way of mitigating and adapting to the impact of climate change through a gender lens.
Equal opportunities in the agriculture and fisheries sector allow more persons to participate in economic growth, strengthens resilience against climate change, and helps pull vulnerable groups out of poverty.
The project in its design had a gender equal formula, and so special emphasis was placed on providing female youth with the opportunity to gain access to resources which they normally would have had a challenge accessing.
Youths in agriculture, the interest is somewhat low, and to have them involved in this kind of production system help them to see a way out.
The future for sustainable Jamaica is climate smart.
Don't let the heat beat you down. Extremely hot days can affect your health, causing heat stress and heat stroke. Protect yourself. Seek sheltering from the sun and limit outdoor activities to mornings and evenings. Wear light-colored, loose-fitting, breathable fabrics. Hydrate with cool water and avoid sweetened drinks and beverages that contain alcohol. Don't let the heat beat you down.
Proper nutrition is key to maintaining good health. Let's get health-wise about the overconsumption of salt and avoid the harmful effects of this briny affair.
Most of us are very familiar with salt. The most common is table salt. The chemical name is sodium chloride, and it's a common component of the food supply in most countries. There are several other sources of salt, including monosodium glutamate, or MSG as it's commonly known, and sodium bicarbonate, or baking soda. Salt is commonly used to flavor food and is used as a binder, stabilizer, as well as preservative. Sodium, or salt as we know it, plays an important role in the proper functioning of our body, with just about 500 milligrams needed daily to carry out normal body functions, such as water balance and nerve conduction. However, most of us are consuming much more than is needed.
Global estimates suggest that persons consume between 9 to 12 grams of salt per day, which is 1.5 to 2 times the recommended intake level.
This briny affair is one of the key factors in our non-communicable disease burden. In simple terms, our overconsumption of this nutrient is contributing to the development of several diseases.
When we look at the heart and cardiovascular system, increased salt intake is associated with high blood pressure, with ischemic heart disease, with hypertensive heart disease, as well as heart failure. For the brain, it's associated with stroke, as well as dementia. For the kidneys, with chronic kidney disease and renal stones. For the stomach, there's an association with increased risk of stomach cancer. For the bones, there's problems related to osteoporosis.
High blood pressure or hypertension affects 1 in 3 Jamaicans, and another third is pre-hypertensive. Salt consumption is also often accompanied by increased intake of calories, which increases the propensity for obesity.
Given that the entire population is at risk of NCDs, given the significant impact and the burden of NCDs, it's imperative that there is sustained action to mitigate the effects of salt consumption.
In 2021, the Ministry of Health and Wellness launched the Jamaica Salt Consumption Knowledge, Attitudes and Practice Jamaica Salt CAP Study. It was designed to provide local baseline data for strengthening strategies to eliminate overconsumption of salt within the population. The ministry is partnering with the National Non-Communicable Disease Committee, the National Health Fund, and the University of the West Indies on the study.
One important aspect of addressing the health concerns of any population is through research. This study, therefore, will help to determine the knowledge, attitude, and practices of our population as it relates to salt intake and strengthen the implementation of strategies to reduce.
This project has specific objectives. So firstly, we aim to estimate the dietary sodium consumption among Jamaicans using spot urine sodium analyses. We want to evaluate the salt content in commonly consumed packaged foods sold in supermarkets. We also want to evaluate the sodium content in commonly used consumed foods in local restaurants. Then we will conduct a national survey to get information on knowledge, attitudes, and practices regarding salt intake in Jamaica.
The World Health Organization (WHO) recommends less than 5 grams of sodium per day for adults and less than 2 grams for children under 11 years of age. 1 in 10 Jamaicans consume excess salt by adding it during cooking or at the table, as well as by frequent consumption of salty sauces or high-sodium processed foods. A significant amount of sodium also comes from ready-made meals and prepared foods, including processed meats, breakfast cereals, and snacks. It's a scenario where the entire population is at risk for NCDs. Minimizing this habit for excess salt in the diet of Jamaicans is one of several goals informing the Ministry of Health and Wellness's NCD agenda. The mission to shake the salt habit begins with the young. Lowering sodium in children's diets today can help prevent heart disease later in life, especially for those who are overweight. Limit their consumption of salty snacks. And remember, no more than 2 grams per day from all food sources for those under 11 years of age. Let's also shop and cook smart. Use less or no salt when cooking and add more flavor to your food by using fresh herbs and salt-free seasoning instead. Also, keep a watch on the foods that are high in salt and limit the consumption. Take the time to carefully read the nutrition labels on food products to determine those providing the healthier options, and be mindful of the portion size you consume. Also, seek out recipes for healthy, tasty meals that can be prepared with little or no salt.
Jamaica is a signatory to the United Nations International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, which recognizes the right of everyone to the highest standard of health. And we believe that in order to achieve this, we must address the crises of NCDs and the role that excess salt, sugars and fats play in making Jamaicans susceptible to getting a lifestyle disease.
Jamaica has committed to the World Health Organization voluntary target to reduce sodium or salt consumption by 30% by 2025. Achieving this requires buy-in from all stakeholders, including manufacturers, retailers, health professionals, and consumers.
We have a duty to ensure that Jamaicans are aware of the harmful effects of unhealthy diets and have access to important nutritional information, which will allow them to make healthier food choices. It has to be tackled initially from the prevention perspective, And the core of that is consumer information, and then policies that encourage or nudges health-seeking behavior.
We all must do our part to break this briny affair. Shake the salt habit and stay healthy.
The use of technology for development is a key pillar in Jamaica's growth strategy. While government has been contemplating nuclear technology for energy diversification, did you know that this form of technology has been in use in Jamaica for many years, supporting areas such as health and research? Let's find out more.
Building reactors is expensive. That is one caveat in other countries having them to begin with. Jamaica was fortunate in that we had a predecessor, Professor Gerald Laylaw, who had contacts both within the government as well as in international agencies who funded the construction of this reactor in 1984, when the reactor was commissioned. We've been fortunate to use it for so many good works that Jamaica has benefited from since and will continue to benefit from in the future.
This nuclear reactor that we're discussing today is the Slowpoke 2 Research Reactor, located at the International Center for Environmental and Nuclear Sciences in Kingston. It is the only one of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean.
It's strange, not many people know that. It's not a power reactor, we don't generate electricity. It's a tiny reactor and compared to what you might have seen in the movies, actually. Our reactor is just 20 kilowatts, so think about it like 20 tea kettles in your house. That's the amount of power that it has. So it's definitely not power and definitely not going to cut your light bill right now. But what we use this reactor to do is research.
This is very important for us Jamaicans, as nuclear techniques have been applied to study a range of topics from health to agriculture and even climate change.
How the reactor works, it's a device that basically generates neutrons. These neutrons are generated through a process called fission. Fission is basically when the atoms split. So every time those atoms split, it's generating heat. We have a thing in the reactor called a control rod. So think of it like a flashlight. If I put that flashlight on my hand and it's on, you're not gonna see the light. That light in this case represents free neutrons. As I lift that light, in this case the control rod, then I can see more glow. That's more neutrons available. And the more they interact is the more they split, and it's a controlled reaction that occurs in the reactor. When you think about power reactors, that heat that's generated is what's used to propel steam turbines and create energy that we would use as electricity. But in our case, since we're not using it for energy, what we're using it to do is basically irradiate the sample that you give me. So if you come to me as a client and you're curious, what's in my plant or what's in my soil, I basically expose your soil or plant to these free neutrons and it gets irradiated. Once you give me your sample and I expose it to radiation, it becomes radioactive. Since it's radioactive, it's basically going to start decaying over a period of time. When it decays, it has these unique gamma rays, which we can pick up on our detector right here. Those unique gamma rays there can tell me how much of what is in your sample. If you're curious as to how much arsenic is in your plant or how much arsenic is in your soil and chromium, that's the information that I'll be able to provide. The number may or may not mean much to you. How that relates is to regulatory policies that are set by agencies that are not us, for example, NEPA or even the World Health Organization. They have limits that are set for lead in soil or lead in plants or lead in water. What we can do is do our analysis and provide a result so that you have an idea of what you're working with, whether as someone going into agriculture
or you're thinking about exporting. So this entire lab is a part of the whole process. When I get a sample and it's prepared, we package them in these polyethylene vials. That's what we use to send to the reactor. If you think about it like when you go to the banks in the States and you put your money in this tube and you shoot it to the teller, in this case the teller is the reactor. We do the same thing here, but they're much tinier vials.
This nuclear reactor and its value to the research field is part of what is helping to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old tires or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Are you keen on securing your financial health? In the few remaining minutes of Jamaica Magazine, pay attention to some important tips that will help you to become financially savvy with better spending, saving, and investment habits.
My presentation today is on getting the best bang for your budget. Budgeting, simply defined, is creating a plan to spend your money. Good budgeting, however, is ensuring that you're spending less than you earn. I know budgeting can be hard. You make a budget and you find it difficult to stick to it, but it's one of the best ways to keep track of where your money is going every month. And then you can identify what changes you need to make in order to reach your financial goals. When making your budget should include things like your needs, your wants, your savings, your investments, and your emergency fund. So typically what we're saying is that your money monthly should be going towards savings, your bills and utilities, your insurance, and your emergency fund. You also would want to ensure that when you're making your budget, you give every dollar a job and keep track of your spending. Keep a financial journal if necessary. This will help to keep you on track and you can record and identify the things that you're actually spending your money on. So, one of the first things you'd want to do when you're creating your budget is create a financial plan, and it will help you to map out the actions that you need to take towards achieving these goals. And please ensure that you put your short-term as well as your long-term goals in your financial plan. After you've created your financial plan, then you'd want to identify all your streams of income. Your streams of income is not only your 9 to 5, and that's a mistake that a lot of us make. What about your other passive incomes? What about the earnings you make from your skills? You might be getting an inheritance, you might be getting an annuity, you might be the type of person to buy and sell things. You have to account for every single dollar you make. And likewise, if you're going to account for all your earnings, you'll also have to account for all your monthly expenses. And your monthly expenses is not only your utility bills. A lot of times we neglect to include the other things that we have to spend on. Sometimes the simple things like our personal care, your groceries, your hair care, your wants. Some of us have things that we have to do to maintain our mental health. Include those things in your budget. All things must be accounted for, so you identify where all your income is coming from and you identify all your expenses. So now, Let's uncover some of those bad financial habits that are wrecking our financial future. And while it's easy to identify some of our big expenditures, sometimes it's uncovering some of those smaller, more sneakier daily expenses that will save you a lot of money in the long run. My first question to you is, are you paying your bills on time? Paying your bill late comes with penalty fees, and these fees add up. Implementing the right debt payoff strategy, you can pay off your debt quickly, end up saving more, and you end up having more money towards your other financial goals. Prioritize paying off your debts. Things that we tend to let slip through as well. Most banks have a charge that is associated with going to the ATM. Not to mention, if you decide that you're going to use another bank's ATM because it's more convenient, then you end up paying 2-3 times the amount. So you have to keep a close eye on your money, guys. You have to keep track of these fees. Cutting out unnecessary expenses will actually help you to save a lot of money each month. So let's quickly talk about some of the money habits that we need to develop. Pay yourself first. Take out money for your savings. Put it in an investment account if you have to. Have a separate bank account, but pay yourself first. Build up on your retirement fund. Increase your deductions. This will not only help you to put more money towards your retirement saving, but it also reduces your taxable income. And try to make it at least the amount that your employer will match. That's like getting free money. Who doesn't want free money, right? Save for the future. Saying things like YOLO or FOMO can make you feel like you need to spend all your money now. But there needs to be a balance. Enjoy your life now, but be sure that you're saving money for the future and working diligently towards your goals. Live below your means. If you're spending more than you earn, at some point, you're going to have to require credit to cover the rest. If you find yourself having to get credit to pay for basic things, then you need to revisit what you're doing. To grow your money and create real wealth, you need to start investing. Invest your money and help to build up and secure your financial future. Last but not least, invest in a critical illness plan, guys. So I'll end by saying, not budgeting your money combined with bad financial habits, not saving, can leave you vulnerable to unexpected emergencies, living from paycheck to paycheck, not to mention not having enough money for retirement. You can achieve your financial goals. It's just a matter of prioritizing, sticking to your budget, and tracking your spending.
With that, we end our journey inside Jamaica Magazine for today. Be here on this station tomorrow, and we will have much more to share. Until then, there are lots to watch over on our website, jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Remember, live good and do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.